Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in to our webinar on how to make B2B customer experience even better by using multi-channels and improving processes. I want to take a moment to recognize the traditional custodians of the lands we gathered in today, pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, and extend respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. And of course, for our New Zealand audience today, our official meeting opening, I summon from above, below, within, from the outside environment to calm and settle the vital inner essence, the well-being of everyone, be joined together and united. A reminder about, you're going to hear today some cool features about Salesforce. Just so you know, Salesforce is a public listed company, and all purchasing decisions should be made on products available today. And of course, a big welcome to all Aussies and Kiwis participants joining us today, and everyone else from other countries, welcome. Throughout the session, please ask questions to our speakers. There is a Q&A section at the bottom, so pop in there at the end any questions, and we'll answer the questions from the audience. My name is Ivan Sanchez. I'll be your host for today. I'm a sales director at Cloudworks. I specialized in B2B digital transformations programs of work. And we've got two great panelists joining us who are experts in the topic. Let's give a warm welcome to Brad Orish, CEO of LW Reed, and Chris Spence, who leads the Commerce Cloud business at Salesforce in Australia and New Zealand. So before we get into any of the nitty-gritty of the session today, let's have our panelists introduce themselves real quick. Over to you, Brad.
Thanks, Ivan. Yeah, I'm Brad Orish. I'm the CEO of Mountcastle. We're Australia's leading uniform company. We're also one of the oldest companies in Australia, founded in 1835, just like 15 years after Napoleon passed away. So we've been around a very long time. So today I'll be talking about LW Reed, which is our wholesale channel. And through that, we service a third of the schools in Australia, which makes us the widest reaching player in that market. And it's certainly something we can only get there through our significant investment over the last decade in our digital tool set, which we'll get to talk to about today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brad. Over to you, Chris, for a quick intro.
Yeah, Ivan, thanks for having me today. My name is Chris Spence. I lead the Commerce Cloud business across ANZ, spent the last decade in this digital space, just spending most of my days talking to customers about how they step change their environment or transform their B2B. So looking forward to spending the next 60 minutes with yourself and Brad.
Okay, great. Thanks for the intro. So let's get into it. Now, the world is changing, it's going really fast, particularly with the latest generative AI advent of the technology that is upon us. Now more than ever, with the advance of high tech, it's becoming a great part in how companies connect. So for B2B companies in mind, Chris, keen to hear your thoughts on how you see the big trends in the digital transformation parts for business-to-business organizations. And,
yeah,
as a follow-up question, what's catching your eye in this current business climate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And, over the last couple of years, we've seen this significant improvement on how we're engaged from a B2C perspective. I mean, COVID's and made all of those consumer organizations really amplify that engagement. And now what we're seeing that move through into a business-to-business perspective. Our expectations around B2B organizations driving customer centricity and then delivering that seamless omni-channel engagement and embedding self-service, because we might want to connect late at night, early in the morning, in the middle of the afternoon. So both reducing cost for the organization and increasing satisfaction for the organizations we deal with. And then, I'd probably say the third trend is, making sure that data is accessible. So surfacing in near real time, that next best conversation, regardless of channel, and then gaining insights into that data. So enabling an organization to pivot when needed and really understand whether they need to double down on a strategy or change strategies. So I think it's really, these points are really about delivering that consistent, B2B experience that our consumers are now learning to expect.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, certainly a lot going on. Just to put a bit of context on these trends, would you have some examples about what you just mentioned, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to be complicated, and that's what we can just start with simple things. One of our customers, comes to mind, creates a reorder portal. Now they understand exactly what the customers been ordered historically. They understand seasonal purchases, and they understand browser history and analytics. So that organization is actually preparing a pre-baked basket every week for that store to say, okay, this is what we believe you need to purchase. So they're not building it from the ground up. And now that organization is delivering on average a 20% plus in revenue in average basket size, on a weekly basis. So they're leveraging that data. Now we have a lot of information on our data, as mentioned. It's just that, it's not always being surfaced. So at Salesforce, we're helping organizations like the one I mentioned, deliver insights and recommendations to their clients, so they're not starting from scratch every time they want to come and order. So reorder portals, a huge opportunity for most organizations.
Yeah, fascinating. And yeah, B2B is a complex world, and Brad will know this very well. So let's shift the focus now and delve into LW Reed's digital transformation journey. Brad, could you share with us what motivated you to embark on this significant digital transformation initiative that you're going through? What inspired this major shift?
Well, I've got a bit of a different background. When my first web app was in like '96, I was part of the crew that built Big Pond in the mid '90s. And what that means is I'm really digital first with everything. And then you hit the problem of process management of paper, which is just impossible. You can't measure it. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. My previous role before here, I was CIO at Perpetual, and we were going through replatforming the private wealth practice there off paper and using Salesforce actually for process management there. You get the benefit of both the customer 360 and the oversight and the transparency around it. And so when I arrived here, and I saw exactly the same thing that we were talking before, stacks of paper is that were the order book for the day. Transcription errors, no certainty, unable to take customer inquiries about where their orders are up to. It really just wrote its own business case. We needed to move to something that was going to give us that certainty and transparency around the processes we were executing.
Yeah, really interesting background, Brad. Now let's delve into another crucial aspect that we frequently encounter at Cloudworks, and is the topic of multi-channel engagement. Brad, could you shed some light on what how you've navigated these LW Reed?
Yeah, so it's interesting for us. When I think about multi-channel for the last couple of years, it's been a big part of that has been physical versus online. But there's so many other channels that our customers interact with us through. We still have customers that fax things in, chat, email, phone calls, Facebook Messenger, etc. And so, we recognize that if we wanted to be in a position of being their trusted advisor, we need to be able to respond to them wherever they need it and however they need it, And so that is a big part of what we get out of that customer 360 view. Regardless of those channels, it's all coming into the same account or contact centric view, and we're able to respond in exactly the same way across all of those channels, And by plugging them all together, we can then see patterns that are evolving for us. We've had a 36% decline in phone calls just over the last sort of 3 years. And, it's odd because I really thought through COVID, we would see an uptick in phone calls, but, people are more and more in favor of asynchronous communications. They want to move that stuff into emails or things they can submit online on the web and have us respond at a later time. And they can respond to that at a time that suits them, Similarly, we see a move of the customers placing their own orders online. We're up to sort of 68% of the orders that are coming through are being entered directly by the customer, and removing all transcription possibility and all the errors possibilities from our end, which has been fantastic. Gives them certainty, gives us certainty. We remove humans out of the process here, and we get it straight down to the warehouse and out onto the truck much quicker for everybody.
Yeah, incredible insights, from trusted advisor, consistency, responsiveness, personalization. I think many people on the call today will identify with the challenge of creating a personalized and relevant experience for customers, and even doing that across multiple channels. Now, Chris, I'm keen to get your take on this. Given your experience in this area, how are you seeing business to business tackling these multiple channels?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, Brad mentioned, moving from a physical paper or an emailed order or a phone call, is evolving into this sort of cross channel, and we're seeing more and more channels open up every day. Brad mentioned, WhatsApp and, SMS and chatbots and, traditional service centers. But one thing's certain, that the path to purchase is no longer linear. So, Brad mentioned, meeting the customer on their terms, on their channels. So this path to purchase being no longer linear, we need to work out how then we engage that. And the way that we're seeing organizations such as, Brad and LWE stitching these data points together is enabling them to have the relevant conversation regardless of the channel. Now we're seeing, Brad's, way out there with 68%, online. But, our research shows over the last 2 years, we've moved from just 28% 2 years ago to 40% digital interactions. And our State of Commerce report is showing that 52% of all digital transactions in the B2B world will be online in the next 2 years. And you think about the impact of that to our customers. Brad mentioned, the reduction in returns and certainty as far as where your order's at. But we're also seeing loyalty play a big part in this. If we can create that consistent and thoughtful relationship and being able to transact and engage with the customers, on their terms, on their preferred channel, then we'll drive absolute loyalty and get those customers coming back time after time. Because after all, we learn this in a B2C world where we value the experience over the price. It's no different in B2B. We just want to make life, easy. We want to transact easy. We want customers, businesses we deal with to really deeply understand us. So, that's another added benefit from investing in this area.
Yeah, certainly. We definitely see the aspirations for customers to really mimic the B2C experience. Loyalty is a big topic, particularly in the complex B2B engagements. And with all these different ways of getting in touch, keen to explore how business can make this truly personal. How can they make sure they're giving the customers a really personalized and consistent experience? Chris, what strategies would you recommend?
It's all about the connected ecosystem. And at Salesforce, we call this a customer 360, and that's connecting sales, service, marketing, and commerce, and having that ecosystem connected. And at Salesforce, we support that through Mule and Tableau for amazing reporting, and Slack for workflow and approvals. But what that means is that you can entire systems connected, then everybody across your organization understands what your customers are doing at any one time and can surface that next best offer. So you end up with this seamless connected environment, which then delivers that omni-channel experience. We just completed a survey of over 1,000 marketers. 67% that believe that their data is not properly set up for an accurate quality output. So that's something to think about. And we may touch on that later as far as, making sure that we get the data in the right place. Of course, shameless plug, Salesforce can help with this. Can't leave without that. So how do we get you there? Well, I think this is part of a journey and not a destination. And Brad's been on this journey for a number of years now, and he's delivering some amazing experience. And like large transformations are not being signed off every day of the week. We see that within our business. So it's all about step changes and breaking down your plans. So just a few things that come to mind is really around, what's the key business initiative? What are the capabilities you're going to need to build in order to get there? Think about the time to value. So how long is that sprint and how much value will it deliver to the business? You'll have some quick wins, but you'll also have some longer term projects in order to deliver those foundations, which might take multiple quarters. It might take multiple years. Think about those sprints and the impacts that they'll have on your customer experience. And through that, you'll likely find that they will release resources through automation so that you can have those team members, turn them into order makers, not order takers. I'm sure Brad's, service desk, taking a, was it 32 or 38% reduction in calls? I'm sure, they're busy now connecting with high value customers, or working out how they bring the next customer on board. And then investment. I think, you know, we're not just investing in technology, we're investing in people, training, as well as technology. So think about that broadly. And then building the right business case, and building that business case over multiple, you know, years, so that we get the buy-in of the board, right, of the CEO, to make sure that it's not seen as a single drop, and then you have to go back and, you know, re-justify the next drop. It's seen as a complete project. And I think, you know, finally, it's just get started, get your vision, plan it out, and of course, involve an awesome partner, because you really need a solid partner that understands that customer 360 to come along that journey. And Ivan, you probably know one of those partners, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I get great points there, Chris. We certainly see, you know, the experience that we go through our programmatic approach when it comes to, you know, multiple facets and functions of the business, through the engagement of the companies and customers that really trying to jump onto that journey. And it's, you know, it's not easy to kind of envision what that is going to look like when you start to think about marketing and sales and service. How do I create a multi-channel approach? It's not an easy feast. So it's very important because, you know, at the end of the day, it's not easy. And so I'm keen, Brad, as you navigate in your digital transformation journey, how do you ensure the customer experience remain at the heart of your initiatives?
Yeah, well, for us, I think, given that it was the underpinning purpose of the whole project, you know, for us it was, we need to be able to distinguish ourselves in the marketplace by being your when you get to that trusted advisor. You know, that means that we are super responsive. Anyone here can help you and understand where you're up to. And so with that purpose in mind, you know, we spent a lot of time thinking about what is this, and I'll tell you, not enough time. So we learned through the process that we could do better and better, you know, but we started out with, how would this impact the customer? What would this look like for them? If I was them, what would I want to be receiving? You know, in the earlier stages, we certainly cared about it, but we weren't as mature in the way we planned and operated that as where we've got to now. And then, of course, no matter what you do, it's what did the customer really experience? And so a big part of the project for us is, how do we get constant feedback? And we're up to sort of like 9 years now, I think, of the management team and I reviewing customer feedback every week. And we seek that in every channel we can, you know, from you know, case follow-ups, phone call follow-ups, even our cartons when we ship to you, it's got a little QR code on it. You can scan that and tell us about what your experience was like. All of that comes back into the management team, and we review that together each week and make sure we're learning from that. And you learn things that you just wouldn't have thought of, no matter how well you plan through it. You know, for us, this whole process has been about, how do we remove friction in dealing with us for the customer, so that they think of us as an easy reach service team, ready there to help them with whatever they need, you know. You know, when we put in Marketing Cloud, you know, it was the first time we got access to SMSs. So we one of the challenges for our customers, if you think about them, many of them are volunteers in the local school community. You know, they don't. You were saying before, Chris was saying, and you, Ivan, actually, you know, we have B2C expectations in our B2B commercial relationships. So these volunteers, generally, they don't have other commercial roles in their lives, and you know, their experience and their expectations are all built around what it's like to be a consumer these days. And you know, and so this platform allows us to give them that kind of experience, or get closer and closer to that kind of experience. One of the challenges then, thinking about removing friction for them, is that, you know, if you're in that role, you might not, and your volunteers are turning over every couple of years, you might not recognize that, you know, you've got to get your winter orders in by a certain time in order to have those garments produced in time for you to be ready for back to school. And so I know when we first entered Marketing Cloud, our first use of SMS was like to send reminders out to those customers who hadn't placed those orders yet, to let them know about that. And when they get new art, you know, moving that from, you know, paperwork to electronic approvals, so we can remove friction in that process. And as I say, getting everyone in the organization, finance, service, sales, everybody has that common customer 360 view. No matter who you end up talking to, we can all see what's been going on for you right across the account, and be in a position to add value immediately.
Wow, there you go, folks. Some great insights there from Brad. Keen to kind of give another go at the topic of personalization. So switching gears a little bit, Brad, interested in your thoughts about how you keep an account-centric approach and then personalize that, regardless of the touches that account has with your company, whether it is through an account manager or the customer service and so on. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's a really critical distinguishing factor. So many of the platforms that you saw, and certainly our previous web platform, they're all built around B2C relationships, and so we had to do a lot of work there to customize in a B2B model so that anyone on the account is going to get the same view of the account. Look, 5-6 years ago, we were very excited that personalization meant we could know the right name, but these days it's that we moved very quickly. We realized that we can't be a trusted advisor for you and your organization if we send everyone in your organization different recommendations. And those B2C tools, they're all about what did you look at, and what did people that looked at that also, what are they interested in? So we did a lot of work to move all of the recommendation engine up out of the contact and to an account level. And then using 360, share that right across everywhere where we're surfacing those recommendations on the web, in the email campaigns, when you call up and talk to the salesperson, the recommendations about the next best product or even to the service desk. Everybody has visibility of that, Then it's about personalization that's a little less obvious. How should you communicate with this customer? When should you communicate with this customer? So, we have algorithms that look at today, when does each contact us? Regularly look at that pattern, and then if we need to contact them, we try and contact them in that time of day or that time of the week. Similarly, in their contact mode, if they prefer to be contacting us via email, then we'll use that as our first port of call, or phone calls if that's what suits them. And so we've done a lot of work to understand that the aspects of an account that should be managed at an account level, and still how do we make you feel like we understand you personally by giving the elements that are specific to you, personalizing those elements.
Wow, a lot of juggling in there, Brad. That's great. Seems like you got a fantastic strategy there for personalization. Now, you mentioned earlier about the manual efforts in the business and going from a paper-based system to a more digital or digitalized organization. We hear this from our customers. Everyone wants to automate the business as much as possible, repurpose their people into high degree tasks. Could you shed some light on your approach to this from your transformation? How did you initiate it and reach to your current position?
Yeah, you will hear so many anecdotes of people that put in a platform and it doesn't deliver the results, and invariably that's because it doesn't get used, and it's hard to get it used until it reaches a point of critical mass where it's a high utility thing and everyone in the organization shifts from needing to use it to wanting to use it. And that really comes down to the amount of their day-to-day that can be resolved inside it, firstly, so it's a compelling place to go and I don't have to jump around 4 or 5 tools. I can see everything there. So that's a compelling reason to drive all of your data into it. And then it's about, well, now all the data's there, what are the things you can do that you couldn't do before? I was saying before about the recommendation engine, etc. And so it's been critical for us to as quickly as possible drive everything back into that customer 360 view. So pretty much everything from our ERP, even our purchase orders, all of our garment design work, all of that kind of work, all has moved onto the platform now, so that regardless of what you want to know about a customer or a piece of work we're working on, or what your colleagues are up to, you'll find it all somewhere in Salesforce. And from that foundation of that data, then the new things we're able to do. I talked a second ago about that garment design work. We would never have been able to do that without the foundations of the customers and the product mother sets and the fabric data and all of that kind of information coming and being available in there. From that, you can keep building these higher and higher level capabilities that you wouldn't have been able. You certainly wouldn't want to set out and try and build from scratch initially. And that for us has been the biggest part of driving adoption. Yes, definitely in the early days, there were the Luddites who didn't want to give up their pen and paper or whatever their work mode was, and There were one or two of them that, you know, we had to get to the point of, if it's not in Salesforce, it didn't happen. But the vast majority of people were compelled ultimately by the utility of the platform, and that's where they wanted to spend their time.
Yeah, great. I can't emphasize that enough. The change management, the you know, how there's always that question at the back of the minds of our customers: how do we really, you know, get ready as we go through the transformation, get our people ready, get them excited about this, so the adoption at the other end is significant and has the impact that is desired. Chris, when it comes to, and at the core of automation, there are obviously the processes that enable a business at very, very different levels. Can you share some strategies for businesses out there to help them streamline those processes, and how those processes will make the customer journey smoother and more akin to experiences like in the B2C world?
Yeah, I mean, have you ever sat in a meeting where you're high-fiving one another because we're all hitting our KPIs, like accounts are going, you know, our target was 3 days and we're at like 2, and, you know, warehousing are like, we're shipping every order within 24 hours. And, you know, accounts have got their day sales outstanding to below 38 days, and everyone's like high-fiving one another. And, but underlying CSAT, and, you know, there's an underlying sort of feeling that maybe we're not doing everything right, and maybe we don't have the smoothest experience. So I love the concept of a journey builder, and I've seen this, you know, throughout my career, where you have a journey expert and they're empowered to walk a day in a live customer and drive change regardless of the silo, whether that's warehousing, accounts, onboarding, you know, web experience. And so whether it's opening a new account, placing new orders, returning a product, or raising a dispute, this journey builder or journey expert just walks alive throughout those and really understands the customer experience from the outside in, because sometimes we do miss that big picture, and therefore they're able to identify the opportunities and the friction points within your organization. I think the most important thing here is they have to be empowered to make change, as opposed to, you know, sending a report up and then it coming down to business unit saying, accounts, you need to do better. So working out how you smooth that project. So I think, you know, advice for, you know, a lot of our customers out there is actually get a customer to go and buy a product, go and return a product, go and experience that from, you know, whether it's buy online, pick up from a local distribution center. And again, if we get this experience right, we'll just continue to drive loyalty, because we'll be very easy to do business with. We'll have we'll create less friction in the organization. So yeah, so I think that's a really good starting point from trying to work out what you need to improve on and what you need to achieve.
Yeah, I think Chris has really nailed it there. You know, the journey expert is something that we didn't pick up on initially. We would. It's very easy, and it's like the default mode to go and automate a particular process and think of it in the silo of that individual piece of work. And it took a while for us, actually. It took some of that customer feedback before we realized about how some of those siloed processes were stepping on each other, you know. And so we realized that, you know, if you join up with us, you've got an account application process, you've got to go through a credit limit process, you're going to pick some products and start doing some logo work, and we're going to need your approvals and all of that. And initially, we would be raining all of that communication down on you in a pretty incoherent way, and it was pretty difficult if you're on the other end of that without any sort of framing and understanding about what these different elements are, to just get flooded with messages from us. And there's an example there where a journey expert, someone who's going to sit in the customer's experience and walk through that, can have a far better understanding and give you that realization of what the impact is being on the customer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we see it. So when we initiate of engagement, there is always that element of blueprinting to make sure that we understand the as is, as well as designing, as the company wants to create an outcome. How do we really get to that to be mode? And I think there is a lot of nuances in before you get to that state where you want to really understand you know, what the users are thinking, what the users are really experiencing, what the customers are thinking, and bring all those insights into your journeys that you're trying to design for the future. So great points in there, really good insights. Thank you for that. So, Brad, based on your experience at LW Reed, what advice would you give, your past self and other businesses who are really beginning into this digital transformation journey? What are the key lessons that you think you've learned throughout your journey? If you can share with us, please.
Yeah. Well, look, like I was saying before, the number one thing is getting it to be a high utility tool for everybody. And it's absolutely, it's the nuts and bolts of a high utility thing. But if you don't get the right data in there, and if you're not putting all of your effort into using it and bringing everything into it, then you won't get to that high utility and you won't get adoption. So it becomes this Pygmalion effect, right? If the data's not there, people aren't using it, and so the data's not there, and you can drive that inversely. So, that is a big thing to think about, is what part of your business does it need to not participate in? Because for us, it participates in everything: warehousing, finance, as I said, service and sales, even our product management. So get it as prolific as you can in the organization, and that's you'll drive up the utility, and then you'll drive the adoption. And that's a fantastic feedback loop. The next part is to think about it from the customer's perspective. You're putting this sort of transition in place to assist the customer. It's very easy to think about the things you're doing for the customer from your perspective rather from theirs. And what do you need to do? What do you need to get out of a process, as opposed to what do they need? I remember very early on, we would have like automated updates to customers about the status of an order. And of course, they don't need to know your order is now with the warehouse, your order is finished packing, your order is being dispatched. They don't need all that information. Now, we got excited about the fact that we could do it, and but not paying attention to the fact that it's not very helpful to the customer. They just want to know when it's coming. The next thing is, particularly in this context we're talking here today, is B2B versus B2C. The tool sets really, they're just so easy to work on a B2C level. And so you can understand the individual really well, which is great. But you really devalue your position as a trusted advisor if you're giving each one of the people inside that organization different recommendations, or a different view of transaction history, or anything like that. Or if person A calls up, they should know that person B was chasing down an issue yesterday and they're under the same account. So that account-centric view is critically important. And then from that, pull the expertise. There's so much opportunity here for automating the way you operate. And so we should be using that to help our team move from being processors to people who their job is to deploy expertise and judgment in the organization. And they can share that. If you make that account record the home of where all of that knowledge goes, and it's very easy for the whole organization to get access to it.
Wow, a lot to unpack there. Some great insights. Thanks, Brad. Chris, how about you? Any pieces of advice that you believe will benefit those businesses embarking on this digital transformation, and in particular those looking to improve their customers' multi-channel experience?
Yeah, we've touched on a few of these points this morning. I think a critical step is creating that unified customer profile. And then what do we mean by that? And we mean is like, connecting all of your channels and combining those together, and Brad referenced that. But leveraging AI to deliver insights and pulling that through, regardless of channel. We've got to connect data, and we're not going to just connect the data of, the data we have in-house, but it also might be third-party data. So actually pulling all of that together, into the account record, so we can service that relationship or that next best action. And then leveraging the rich data that you have about that customer within their profile. Brad mentioned, some customers might want to be contacted weekly, monthly, quarterly, right? They might want to be contacted on a specific channel, right? Given that we know that, let's make sure that we build that into their, customer profile, so that when we take an action and when we reach out to a customer, then we reach out on their terms, on their preferred channel, at their preferred time. So there's sort of three things, and we think that is AI plus data plus CRM. And once we do this, we've got all the ingredients to empower your team, to listen to your customers, to engage them on their preferred channel, and deliver that next best action, regardless of channel. And this is an easy statement to make. And if you do want to spend more time on this, please reach out, and we can have one of the experts. And Cloudworks have got some amazing team members that can also help with this. But this is a journey, and connecting, delivering that statement isn't like a, turn it on overnight, but we can certainly work through any of the audience today and help them through what that might look like.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. And absolutely, we love this topic. We got some very passionate consultants in the business that really live and breathe these topics: AI, data, CRM, experience, the engagements that customers create through the digital platform and Salesforce out there. It's something that we're really passionate about. Now, Brad, obviously, if you accept the challenge, we'd love to hear what are your future plans. If you can share some of those things that are coming up for LWRead. How do you envision that the company, further leveraging the technology that you have today, enhance the B2B and the B2C customer experience? Are there any exciting initiatives or a strategy on the horizon that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, certainly, there definitely is. So we have a big project on right now, which is moving our web from a prior technology and onto Commerce Cloud, which the team and I, we're super excited about it. There's so much, as I say, because we've spent so long building up this rich data set about our customers, their products, their interactions with us. It's all sitting in Salesforce, but it's all sort of disconnected from the web experience today. We can push recommendations over there in transaction history, but that's about it. So we're transitioning right now onto Commerce Cloud, both for our B2B and B2C channels. And we're really excited about what that's going to unlock for us. The more we'll be able to share about, case status, richer transaction details, return status, etc. So that's really going to be fantastic. We have some business changes that will mean we'll need to support some new channels in the future as well, and that'll be the first time we'll be moving into the physical world with some of this. So we're excited about that. Because we've implemented quite so long ago, our CTI integration today is it's like 9 years old, and we're still on Classic in our service team. So we're moving to Service Cloud Voice this year, which the team and I are super excited about. We want to be able to, then we'll be able to use AI to if you've seen some of the things that platform can do, analyze the conversation, analyze customer sentiment, give that feedback back to the leadership team, make sure that we're doing a great job servicing the customer. We're getting, the team and I are terribly excited about that. It'll also bring today we get all those channels into Service Cloud, but it's in a pretty archaic and fractured way, so every kind of interaction is a separate kind of object. So you can't see everything as a singular coherent view. You got to scroll through multiple objects to understand those different channels, whereas Service Cloud Voice will bring all of that together for us regardless of channel. So that's going to be a real step up in our game there, which we're excited about. Finally, so much of the things that we're surfacing on the platform today are declarative. They're algorithms we wrote ourselves. What is the weighting of this product being associated with this other product in that class of school? Let's make that recommendation. But using Salesforce soup to nuts in everything we do means that we're in a fantastic position with all of that data to move that kind of processing from algorithms and flows and things that we've declared, us defining logic, to moving to something where we can use AI to understand patterns that we never would have discovered before, and surface them, whether it's recommendations for our sales team, recommendations to support and resolve customer issues through chat, determining what a customer might be calling about, given there's 3 open orders and this other one should have shipped an hour ago and they haven't had an update yet, or whatever else. So we're really excited about what we'll be able to do with the platform in the next year ahead.
Wow, some really exciting things coming up. Loving the journey that LWRead is been on and the way that it's heading. Really interesting. So as we near the end of our discussion today, I want to thank you both, Brad and Chris, for sharing those valuable insights and expertise with us today. Thank you for your time. I think your stories and recommendations are really packed with great practical guidance, and we hope that the audience today are really getting good value and getting their heads spinning about what it will look like for them to really embark in the digital transformation journeys. Now, I encourage you all in the audience to take this opportunity and ask any questions you may have for Brad, Chris, or even myself. Please enter your questions in the chat, and we have some questions already. Great, so let's jump in. This one is for you, Brad. The question is, what benefits are you seeing at LW Reed since you embarked on your transformation?
Well, so many. I guess the most concrete is what it means when you remove transcription error. And so very quickly we saw a drop sort of 80K a year in returns. Now for us, if we get an order wrong, we get the goods back. We haven't destroyed value, but we've certainly upset the customer. They wanted something, we shipped the wrong thing, whether we wrote it down wrong, picked it wrong, whatever. And so, being able to use Salesforce right through that fulfillment process to check and measure we're doing the right thing, it was an 80K reduction in that error rate, which was a year, which was really fantastic. Then it's we would never have been able to get to this scale. A third of the schools in the country, we're leading dialogues with every school in the country, but trading with a third of them. We just couldn't get to that scale without a tool set like this that allows us both on the marketing side to be communicating, but on the responsive service and sales side to be able to take the sort of inbound demand that makes. And a lot of that is automation. And the beauty of that is you get to move your team from pushing buttons into delivering expertise and judgment. And that's a real valuable human connection aspect of dealing with us, that where we want to be spending time. Moving something from A to B, that's something we can automate, and we should. So it's been wonderful to see the whole team be able to lift up how they can contribute to a customer experience. Has been really fantastic. And I guess the last bit is being a lot more responsive. The fact that we've got feedback, built into almost everything we do with the customer means that we get a lot of great ideas from customers, whether it's product feedback or the way we execute a process. And there's far too many ideas, but it's awesome to be in that position where you got far too many. So we got new ways to improve every week, and if you go back to how you could do that on paper, it's just impossible.
Great, Chris, we've got a question for you. Based on your experience, could you provide an example of a company that excels in delivering B2B customer experiences?
Yeah, I mean, Sutton Tools comes to mind. They recently presented our World Tour in Sydney. And they had, I think, probably 80% of their sales team was spending time on, a small amount of their customers. Let's just say the top 20% of the customers, probably less. And in fact, I think a number of their sales teams are all swarmed around the same customers because of that lack of automation. So what that was doing, that was constraining the business to be able to grow. I mean, they're a manufacturer of tools. They want to service, local hardware store in Gerringong, right? They want to service all of those hardware stores around the country, but they just couldn't reach those stores because, they just didn't have the scale. So they've put an amazing B2B portal in place for those customers. And it's done a couple of things. So there's imagery in there. I didn't know, I think there's something like 2,000 different drill bits, which probably explains why I can never find the drill bit when I walk into Bunnings, out there. So, really working on custom price books for these for the tail of stores that they're reaching now, putting imagery on their price book online, because people shop with their eyes. So you think you're buying something, but something else turns up, which then takes pressure off the warehouse because they're not putting items in boxes and shipping them out and then returning them, right? Because they've had to double handle that product, and then the downstream effect on accounts and so on and so forth. So they've got some significant benefit there. But the big benefit is they've just released some of their resources from their sales team so that they can go and help customers grow their business, and in turn helping Sutton Tools grow their business. So it's an awesome use case. It's an awesome organization, and they're really driving some solid results.
Right, thanks for the example, Chris. Now we've got a question that could be for any of us. Let's give it a crack. So the question is, considering the constraints of smaller teams and resources, how can progress be maintained beyond the completion of initial projects? Who would like to to have a turn of that?
Well, I'll jump in on that one, Chris, and but we've probably both got something to say about that. For us, that's been a very, very big part of our journey. We had some help to get the platform up and going a decade ago. And we're just on our second engagement now with a third engagement with a partner now. So it's not like we put it in and we need to constantly go outside to get help, and we've only been able to get there because throughout that journey, we've built up a number of experts internally who are able to both suggest change, think about how it should be executed, give guidance to others, get feedback. Those people are right throughout the organization, so they can get feedback on processes and bring it back in for us to adopt and implement ourselves. It is such a wonderfully simple platform to be extending yourself and add new bits of data or new capabilities, new computations. It's a big part of it is enabling your team to be able to contribute to it.
Yeah, and I might just touch on that, Brad. Enabling your team is all about, at Salesforce, we call them trailblazers, and we've got, millions of trailblazers around the globe, and we have a trailblazer platform. So if you are an admin, you can go on a number of trails in order to be a better admin, right? And really learn the skills of the platform and the capability. So, what we encourage, is to get, the team members on board with the right trail, and we understand the role and the trail that they need to be on, and then educate them and continue to educate them. And that platform is free. It's free for everyone to sign up, and it's complementary to all of our platforms. So I think, if you've got a small team, it's about continuing to develop their capabilities. They'll be happier for it, and they'll be a much more engaged team member if they feel that they're, being educated, they're on part of that journey, and then they're contributing to the business and change management. So you don't need a big team, but it is, awesome to, continue to develop those team members to support change within the business and growth.
Yeah, great. Look, and from my perspective, obviously the partnerships with external providers, CloudWorks comes to mind. But whether it is CloudWorks or any other partner, consulting partner, specialist, subject matter experts, lean on those to really, help you progress in as you start your first project, moving to the next one, figure out what's the fastest path to really get a great outcome, focus on the low-hanging fruits. And as you see momentum, as the small team start to see, the realization of those benefits, then there is more excitement to really tackle the next projects. So it's definitely something that we do quite a lot here at CloudWorks. All right, so let's look, we got a very topical question here. There is a lot of buzz surrounding ChatGPT and generative AI. Brad, how do you perceive these technologies and their potential implementation at LW Reed? And Chris, if you can comment on what you recommend, any resources for those who like to dig deeper into this. Let's go to Brad first.
Yeah, for us, I guess in the end, we're selling products, and so the great benefit of generative technologies is a little bit limited in terms of what we can offer customers, but in terms of the marketing and service to those customers, it's fantastic. So we've begun using it in everything from writing product descriptions, our marketing, how we communicate, when we communicate with those customers. When the move to Service Cloud Voice, then we'll be able to bring that into chat. So if we don't have an agent ready to respond to you straight away, then that technology will be able to look at everything in your account and be able to give you intelligent responses to what your queries might be, until we can get a human in a position to talk to you. And then as I was saying earlier, the other, I think where it's really going to impact us is moving from where we've got declarative algorithms around recommendations and communication timeframe predictions, that type of thing, and moving to a technology that can assess all of that data and give us predictive-based outcomes on when we should communicate, how we should communicate, when someone should be reordering, etc.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we've just had a big conference called Connections 2023 in Chicago, and with lots of announcements, Marketing GPT, Commerce GPT, Service GPT, essentially embedding GPT into all of our products and platforms and capabilities. I think the first thing is important. Like, our approach for generative AI is to deliver it in a respectable, ethical way that honors data security and privacy. So I think that, you know, it's a very powerful tool, but we've got to start off with a baseline of how do we deliver it ethically. You know, Brad mentioned around like service recommendations, and, you know, spoke about some of the objects which were coming through in the service feed. You know, where we see it being amazingly powerful is as a service agent, whether that's in a live chat or a conversation, is talking to a customer, then ChatGPT automatically generates what that next offer might be or that next conversation, and it understands the browsing history of the customer. That could also understand that the customer's got a current complaint in there, right? And wouldn't it be awesome if you're on a service call and your ChatGPT delivers, you know, the customer is currently, say, a red customer or an amber customer, and to tread carefully, because there's nothing worse than, you know, going on a website, looking for the service desk because a product you bought from them is broken, and suddenly they're hitting you with an offer to buy a new television or vacuum cleaner or whatever else it might be. So again, delivering it, not necessarily about creating additional revenue opportunities, but actually creating a better customer experience, right, in that way. So we're seeing, you know, GPT as an amazing opportunity to create efficiencies within our workforce, but also surfacing, you know, those next best actions, you know, testing communication, you know, algorithms to customers to say what's been most impactful. Yeah, so I think we've got some very exciting times ahead, but as I say, we've got to move forward ethically, and we've got to, you know, think about the security and compliance. A good question.
Excellent. Yeah, exciting. Okay, we've got another question here for Brad. How do you manage the complexity of product data enrichment process to ensure you have rich and complete information on your website and other channels?
This is a great example of needing to push adoption. So the people in our organization that owned product, you know, they had that data structured around where they would deploy that product data, you know. So the web was a one-time write. There's the data, and it was written and sat over there, and it was not maintained. We would have our catalog data that we'd publish every year, and so all of that product information would sit just within the catalog repository. And so very quickly we realized that if we're going to be talking consistently about products across the web, across our marketing and our EDMs, in our print catalogs, when a service agent is rattling off the top features of a product, how do we get consistent across all of that? And so we use the product object Salesforce to build out a PIM. So for us, it's probably 80% custom fields, I would imagine, on that object today. But everything we know and say about a given product is on that product record. You know, so we have consistent short, long, and medium descriptions of the product, feature set, color, pricing, or size variations, age of the product, its popularity across different customer segments. All of that information is anchored back to the product record in Salesforce, and then we forced everything to consume off that. So, you know, we even got Magento consuming off that after a bunch of integration work, but we'll get that for a free kick now in Commerce Cloud, which we're looking forward to in the next project. I mean, all of that data goes over to Marketing Cloud. You know, so our quote generation is all pulling from that same data. Yeah, it's really that has been for me one of my, you know, my personally important things. You know, it's so different to think about, you know, 6 or 7 years ago, where there'd be 20 people behind me and they'd talk about a product however they learned to talk about a product, whatever they remembered about a product. And now we have a consistent set of information that we want to make sure a customer gets to hear about that product. And that's generated by the person that invented the product. So, you know, the product expert knows what are the top 5 features and why we invented it and what segment we think this plays best into. You know, and now everyone and every system and every interaction, anyone that uses that data right across our organization has a consistent view of that information. It's been really, really powerful for us.
Great. Well, that's all we have time for today, folks. I'd like to thank everyone out there in the audience for your participation and those insightful questions in today's discussion. We truly appreciate and value your input. A special acknowledgement to our expert panelists, Brad and Chris, for your participation today. We really thank you, and we know that you've taken you carve out some time of your busy schedule today to be with us, and for everyone else, we encourage you to continue the journey with us in the B2B Next Gen series. We'll further explore strategies to streamline the revenue operations and harness the power of data to drive growth. Register today to secure your place. QR code is on the screen. Now the recording of the session will also be sent to you. I'll definitely go through. There's some great insights in the chat today. Thank you for joining us, and best wishes in the future for everyone. We look forward to your continued dialogue in our comment sessions. Thank you. Be kind to you and yourself and everybody else, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.